And now Tilly makes her way in with a cameo. And for the first time since a tailgate, I think it was before the Detroit game, maybe. Which game did you go
Bills
to?
In Buffalo.
Well, yeah, but you didn't. But that one was tough because we had a tough Wi-Fi connectivity that day. What was the home game? What do you got notes for? Look at this.
I got notes,
you got
folks.
Notes. Now you get yourself into the frame. Good to see
Hello.
you.
Am I dressed appropriately? He told me I had to change my clothes I told him I had on earlier. Folks, you believe that? I wasn't dressed appropriately, he tells me, for his show.
Well,
here we go.
You look good. This is nice, actually. I might wear this for my Twilight round today.
Yeah.
Where'd you get this? It's FJ.
It's a golf
which
thing.
Is your initials. So
it's my golf outing. My golf shirt.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
I just drove over from Troy. It's my mom's house in Albany. We grew up here.
Delmar.
Full circle. Delmar, New York. So let's get into, before we get into you, and we're getting in there. I know that. The live chat's got, look at how many comments. 489 comments right now. Okay. But that was mostly just because I've been doing my takeaways from OTAs and whatnot. I haven't even had a chance to take a swig of water. So why don't you introduce yourself?
All right, folks. Welcome. I'm happy to be here. Francis Shea, as Bobby likes to call me. All right. Is in the house, ready to dispel some narratives he says about me and others things. I do want to say it's about time I've been on this show in a non-Be More Round Town tailgate situation. It's my first debut in that regard.
Had a great call with them, by the way, yesterday.
Happy to hear that. But I'm telling Femi and Cadre and Zarebek and all those guys out there, the who's who of charm. All right. There's a new guy in town, a new who making my debut in town for the vault. Here I am. Bring it on.
Calling out some of our best guests, most routine guests.
Yeah, because I'm hoping to be a routine guest, folks, and you can make it happen in the chats and the super chats. Bring me back, folks, already. I've only been on a minute, but I want to be on again.
The gifts are flying in. I'm not sure if it's because of your presence or not. Somewhere Kadri's on a golf course because he's going to come. He was going to show up today, and I hope he hears this. But Jang gets us to. We left off with 753, and as you're doing your notes, I'm doing it for different reasons because I'm tallying up where we are. So 753, Jang now brings us to 758. So far we've had multiple 5 gift donations. Jang, Mike, Kimberly. Oh, excuse me, Kimberly and Karen. How about you recognize our newest channel member here? On the bottom left,
Karen Trossett.
Oh yeah, I already let them know. We did that earlier on. So
there she is.
So Aunt Rem became a new channel member, which is awesome. And I believe the group chat's going off. I just haven't been able to do both. So 753 is where we left off with Mike. Jane gets us to 758. Not a fan matches that with another 5, which brings us to 762. Tila gets us to 753, or excuse me, 760. It's hard to count and do this at the same time. 763 is where we're at. Ash comes in with another 5 on top of that to get us to 768.
What are you trying to get to?
I don't know. Chris, on top of what she's already donated earlier, gets us to 773. And oh my goodness, are you seeing what I'm seeing, Francis? We have never once been donated 20 channel members at the same time, and Sherry has just done so. 9 minutes ago, Sherry Milan just drops a 20 spot in there. We got a new record high in terms of singular donations. BMC's calling you over there. That's hilarious that you have him in your phone as BMC. So that brings us to 793, and I knew that 800 would be in the cards today. We're not there yet, but 793 thanks to Sherry. And Don C says, we really need to clean this spicy chat up before Sunday, Sarah's return. Much love, everyone. Great community. And I'll give you some context on what Don means by that. The last week or so, as I continue to get, everybody's hitting us up today. The last week or so, the chat has been off the rails. There's a lot of side conversations. I think we've got some infidelity going on in there. There's a lot of mingling and dabbling and a lot going on. You have been in the live chat before. You have a message for any of the folks that come at our heads?
Yeah, they've been quiet lately, haven't they? I mean, I try to find that and try to pick out that and make some comments that they're not giving Bobby his full due or where he belongs in the chat. He's run this Voltron for, I'm not sure about the Voltron, you folks. I mean, we're all Voltrons. I'm not sure about that membership name, but we're living with it. But year 3 is almost in the books, and it's almost to the day where 3 years ago, and Bobby says, I talk about this all the time, we're very close to the rail trail here, where he and I spent many a night walking the rail trail trying to figure out what his next step in life was. His girlfriend had just dumped him down in Ocean City. He had made some
tough scene.
PML outspoken on the radio as I'm texting him saying, Bobby, stop talking. He kept talking on air, and he kept talking himself right out of a job is what he did. But
you know what's funny? You got to give a lot more context, because in the YouTube space, as I've told you for years now, a lot of these people don't know about my background. So what you're talking about, only a select few people know.
Be more WBAL, they don't know.
Well, a lot of people don't know that I was fired by the Ravens. I mean, I've spoken about it, but the way we're growing, we're bringing people in from outside of Baltimore that may not listen to radio stations that are Baltimore based.
Quick recap of that.
All right.
It was St. Patty's Day.
By the way, we just absolutely skyrocketed past 800, and 900 is absolutely in the cards right now. Especially if you say 900 right now in the mic. 900.
But St. Patty's Day, what year?
St. Patty's Day 2022.
2022. Bobby's on the air, as usual, air with doing the sports gig on BAL. And what's the sister station? Rock.
98 Rock.
98 Rock, right? All his coworkers and his guys he worked with on the radio were all at the eggs and beer and eggs at downtown Baltimore.
Bacon and beer
that Bobby was not invited to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Bobby didn't like that, and Bobby decided to, go off on the rail on air. All right, as I'm listening and I'm texting him saying, Bobby, your father says stop talking. Stop saying what you're saying. Stop it. You're terrible. This is not going well. You don't sound good. Oh, he kept going, folks. He kept going, talking himself right out of a job. So fast forward a couple months to the rail trail down the street
that
here.
Felt good, by the way, in the moment. That felt so good in the moment. And now I look back and it was just airing dirty laundry. It could have showed better emotional intelligence, but because of how underutilized I was there and disgruntled and all those things, I look back and I'm like, do I regret the words that I used? No. Do I regret sharing it publicly? Probably.
Yeah,
so anyway,
he was young and impressionable back then. He was couldn't contain himself that day. But you fast forward to a couple months later, we spent many late afternoons doing some exercises on the rail trail, trying to exercise his demons and figure out what his next step was. And here we are 3 years later with a Vault and the Bobby YouTube channel doing very well. Thanks to all you folks out there.
Yeah,
you're doing great. Everything you guys do for my son and for Sarah is highly appreciated. We love what he's building with you guys, with all your support. So, but I'm seeing these gifts come in, gifts and gifts and gifts. How about some leads for some nice ladies though? Where are the leads? People are giving gifted 150, 10 here, 900 members. You members, don't you have a daughter or a granddaughter? That would be great for Bobby, please. I just tried up at the Ravenswood. You saw that a couple weeks ago.
Oh, they saw it all right on the lifestyle influencing track experiment that I've been doing so far.
I can only do so much, folks. I need your help.
The guy's going up to every local bartender. It doesn't matter what she looks like, what she does for a living, or who she is. He's going right up and trying to pimp me out. King Lee says Happy Father's Day. And he's celebrating 2 months of channel membership as well. So that counts as his super chat.
Excellent, King.
Thanks, King. All right, let's get back to the counting, because that's really what it becomes is a count. So we left off at 793. Thanks to, again, the top donation so far, for those of you who may be willing to match, is Sherry's 20 count donation.
Wow.
20 new Voltrons, courtesy of Sherry. We began today at 731. We're about to surpass 800 right now. King Lee gets us to 798 on top of his super chat. So thank you, King. TGIF, my guy Troy, gets us to 799. And the lucky 800 is Mike M. Appreciate you, Mike. And we are now at a new milestone, guys. Who knows? Depending on where this segment goes, 900 could very well be in the cards. But Mike gets us to 800. King Lee, we had that up on the screen for his Father's Day wishes to you.
Thank you, King.
Heather gets us to 801. DC Pete, thank you, Heather. Heather always is here. DC, how about this? This is always interesting. You have your normal players, right, that you start to recognize. Every once in a while, you get somebody that's dropping in here. You got no clue who they are. DC Pete 379, as far as I know, unless they change their name, has never been in the live chat, has never dropped in a super chat. But today, DC gifts us. So we are now at 80. Oh, son of a, where were we?
802, 803.
Okay, we're now at 8. Are we going to? Yeah, okay. Let's call it 803. Thank you, DC. And I better write that down before I lose my train of thought. How about this? Dre Dog, you're gonna love this. You would get along with Dre Dog, I could tell. Dre Dog says, I'd be trying to help him, Pops.
Thank you, Dre. Thanks, Dre.
He's also been on the South Carolina train. He wants me to, which is funny because where do you want to retire?
Hilton Head.
Well,
South
guess
Carolina.
what? Dre Dog lives in South Carolina.
Let's go, Dre.
Columbia, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that where the university is? I'm pretty sure. That's why he knows the Gamecocks well. Okay. Jang says, tired of slacking, Bobby. LOL. Hi, Mr. Trossett. Appreciate you, Jang. Not a fan says, Pops. And by the way, we will open it up for Q&A for Francis if you'd like to. Not a fan says, Pops, we got a channel member that's been flirting.
He's fumbling it.
Oh, Steve, leave it to you to bring this up. So Steve says, Pops, we got a channel member that's been flirting with Bobby and he's fumbling it. We're trying over here. Come get your man, Mimi. So Mimi Ray is currently living in Minnesota, as we learned yesterday. Yes, I completely I incorrectly deciphered the super chat that she left me, trying to explain that she's originally from Bosnia, which is ironic because my first ever girlfriend in Ellesmere was from Bosnia, Rada. And Mimi is now living in Minnesota, but she's moving to Baltimore in the foreseeable future. And we've been having some back and forth banter. So, you may, who knows?
All right, good.
You may be related to her in the future.
I want to talk about Ellesmere, as a matter of fact. Can we get into some other things?
Show everybody your notes.
The guys notes about Bobby's sister. I think you folks would like to hear more about Bobby. Being it's Father's Day, and he's my oldest of four. I thought, we'd share, and Bobby, as you all already know, he's an open book. His life is an open book on whether it be the Vault or the Bobby Baltimore YouTube channel. We know open books, and I think that you folks have grown to enjoy hearing his open book experiences. But I got a couple for you if people want to hear that.
All right, what you got for us?
Because back here down in the
Gulp,
the downstairs at 8 Wood, where Bobby grew up and still spends a fair amount of time. Brings back some fond memories of him and I down here, our oldest. And we used to have none of you probably believe this at all, but Bobby, up until about 5th grade, was about as shy and Klingon of a kid you could possibly have. I mean, beyond, anybody who've had kids who've been Klingons and shy can appreciate it. But this guy he broke the record. Matter of fact, he broke the record for the most tardiest kid ever to go to his elementary school. All right. He was tardy because he wouldn't go. So for example, you finally get him out of the house, all right, to get to school. And then he'd run around the house. He'd take off, run around the house. You couldn't get him in the car.
I'd lock myself in the bathroom.
Lock himself in the bathroom, or run around the neighborhood. You couldn't catch him. Or once you got him in the van, you couldn't get him out of the van. When you drove to school, it was about a 3-minute drive. He'd be stuck in the very back. You could not get him out of the van. So thank God to Mike Valente. Props to Michael Valente, his 5th grade teacher who got him out of this, whatever the heck he was in, from birth to 4th grade, shy Klingon kind of kid. But down this basement, I recollect a couple of stories where we'd be playing, watching videos or whatever, and we had a metal pipe hanging support, which we don't have anymore, thank God. But so Bobby ran into that a number of times, chasing whatever. All right, I end up hitting my head against it on purpose a few times out of frustration with this kid, because look, I could not go from this room to about 10 feet away to change the laundry without him grabbing my leg or hanging on. Don't go, Dad. He couldn't leave one room to go. He literally could not go from one room to the other without him grabbing your leg. This is as a 2- and 3-year-old, not as an 8-month-old. So total Klingon, total shy guy. Mike Valente, thank you very much, because I don't think we'd have the Vault if it wasn't for Mike Valente and breaking you out of whatever that shell you were in up until 5th grade. So that was one story I wanted to share with you about his real youth.
One clarification for the chat. I saw somebody said I've never heard the pronunciate or the phrase 8 Wood, and she spelled it out ATE. That's just a nickname for our home address. That's all it is. Keep going.
All right. I do want, and then again, it's in light of Father's Day and all that, I want to speak in a very positive way about Bobby's youthfulness in high school years in the Bethlehem High School. One thing I look back and think about how proud I was of him. He was a friend and a relationship guy with everybody at that school, whether it be
it's Father's Day. I'm supposed to be giving you.
They want to know about you. They want to know about you more. He was as friendly and open and gregarious with everybody from the custodian staff to his teachers, to the principals, to the special needs kids. He was in there with all 4 of that group of people, and he embraced them all and got along with everybody. Had a great relationship with everybody in high school. And if he carried that on, he's carried that on in his life up at the 30. And that's why, folks, I think he's a fairly decent catch. People out there, I go back to that topic. I talk about usually after being at the Round Town and having a couple early morning appetizers,
screwdrivers.
Yeah, screwdrivers. But this is a total sober experience right now, which I'm loving, guys. But that listen, he was great in high school, and everybody he treated everybody as well, and that's at least his as the oldest of 4, also on Father's Day. You appreciate that, having the oldest of your children embrace the idea of being a role model to his younger siblings, helping his younger siblings do right things, make good decisions, and help them along the way, and being a big brother and also a role model. And I appreciate that about him as well here on Father's Day.
This really is taking a turn that I did not expect, because again, it's Father's Day weekend.
Yeah.
So isn't it supposed to go?
I've already told him to get the who's who of the new who's who.
Like here's
the vault.
Good morning football.
Party.
Thank you for that. Good morning football, in this context they've never gotten before, so I suppose there's meaning behind it. But yesterday, Good Morning Football, which is the NFL Network show, had Allison and John Harbaugh on. Allison is John's only child and is going to law school this fall, by the way, at Loyola Chicago. And she went to do her 5th year, I believe it was, of women's lacrosse at South Florida last year. And she started her career at Notre Dame. That's just all side stuff. But the 2 of them, in honor of Father's Day, came on, and they were both going back and forth on what each other means. So there you have it.
How about Mr. Coach Harbaugh? Is your daughter available? How about that? Sounds like a great catch for Bobby.
Wouldn't that be just
3 years of law school? No problem. Bobby can wait longer.
Wouldn't that be good? What I do for a living is essentially having to, hopefully fairly, criticize your father, right? I'm sure she would just be thrilled.
She might be
to be involved with somebody that's
how that segment went yesterday.
Involved with the team that has essentially been her life since she literally spoke on NFL Network about how tough it was going to school after a loss. What about like coming home to a guy that has to talk about those losses?
Yeah.
And categorize, and
it might work. It might work.
So,
surprise.
Anyway, what else you got on your? We have more super chats. Do you have anything else on your chest?
I wanted to make those points about Bobby in particular in the show, and me being on and crashing this party of usually the who's of Charm City sports. So I'm here. I'm not going away, Femi and Cadre. I want a piece of you guys.
Well, in the spirit of it going both ways in a two-way street, being that I have been home for about 3 weeks here, you get a lot of memories that flush back when you do various things around town, at the house, in the neighborhood, you name it. But for me, every time I drive past a ballpark, it's called McGee Park, I get fond memories of something that you basically committed an insane amount of hours and time to, which was youth sports. And I think that we grew our bond through sport. And then everything else was just kind of ran through that, And so this guy coached, I'm going to tell you right now, I'll go to the grave with this one. I made it a lot easier for the 3 youngest. This guy was a fierce competitor as a little league baseball coach.
You learn from that, folks. You get your age and you learn from that. I wouldn't be the same the second time around.
To the point where his assistants would fall in line. Okay, this guy was in his lineup card like Brandon Hyde was to the nth degree. Probably why Brandon was canned, because he was mixing around with the lineup card too much.
False narratives going on here a little bit, folks.
But he loved it, and I will always look back at that with fond memories. There's not a day goes by that goes by that you aren't engaged with what we're doing, what we're building. In my case, what your other kids are up to professionally, travels. Sure, your stomach's been in knots for the last 3 weeks with John being in Asia. By the way, he just crossed the demilitarized zone and stepped foot into North Korea yesterday. But I guess that's no big deal.
Nothing.
But yeah, family has forever been instilled by both what you and Mom made sure to make your priority one from day one. And I think that's the reason why at this point life just becomes so much more fun. And in all seriousness, the reason why I keep talking about and harping on my idea of 4 kids has a lot to do with how much fun the last few years has been. Getting to know, in my brother's case, someone who's always been viewed as, the younger kid. When he becomes a peer of yours and there's a 9-year age gap, There's something special about that. And I think we each have that instilled in us, that family's first and foremost, and nothing else really matters outside of that. We were all chasing different things. Tori lives on the other side of the freaking country. You know, we have siblings in relationships, but at the end of the day, and I think we've seen that in recent weeks with milestones, John graduating, other things in the last couple of years or so. It's been a lot of fun, and I feel like the best is yet to come, and that's my main motivation for having 4 kids, and it might be later in life. At this point, it might be later in life, because I'm becoming more and more selective and picky, as you know, and I'm standing on that.
You want me to tell him about the comment we made at John's graduation that you made and I responded to?
I don't remember, but go ahead.
I do want to tell you a story about Little League and how we ended up, before we had dinner, what Bobby had accomplished before he got to go eat dinner. But first off, we're at John's graduation at Loyola a couple weeks ago, and he says, "Hey, it's our last of 4. It's been a long haul. It was a big celebration of 12 years in the making there." So, but Bobby says, "Boy, it's going to be our last college graduation for a while." I said, "Yeah, Bobby, if you had a kid tomorrow, let me say an example. If you had a kid tomorrow, which is, you don't have a girlfriend, so you're not going to have a kid tomorrow. But if you happen to have a kid tomorrow, right, and he was graduating in 22 years, I'd be 84. All right. So this might be my last college graduation, Bobby. Let me tell you that." So I told him I'd have a little realism there that day. But anyway, we it's been a great run with the 4 graduations, and it was a great celebration in Baltimore a couple of weeks ago. But back to the Little League thing. So,
well, let them know what you're working towards first. June 7th, 2026.
Well, we got Tori's wedding coming up, the next milestone event. So almost a year from now.
I will adopt, by the way, to hopefully get you one more graduation. If I need to, when it's all said and done, I will adopt.
Hey, this was a little bit of a hard charging Little League coach and father. So during Little League season in particular, you'd practice and you'd play in the yard. And anyway, you got a routine where after school, he was home from school, I'd get home from work, and before dinner, we go out and throw in the driveway in the road. Before his mother would yell in for dinner. I said, "Hang on, you have to accomplish a couple things. You have to get a ground ball clean, throw back to the coach. You got to catch a pop fly clean. You got to get a scoop at first base. You got to make a catch across your body, right? You make a catch out here. So about 5 or 6 throws, right? And you had to make all 5 or 6 in a row before you go to dinner. So Bobby's forte, he wasn't built like it, but he was a first baseman in the making. Believe it or not, he had the best scoop. I used to throw scoops to him in the road, bounced it right in his feet, bounced to the left, bounced to right, and he became pretty solid first baseman. So that was the routine before dinner, and it wouldn't always go smoothly. And his mother might get yelled, "Dinner's ready." It might be 3 or 4 times when we get there, but a lot of fun and good memory.
And this guy's claim to fame, having went to Georgetown and almost walked onto the men's basketball team, again, despite his frame,
5'6",
despite the frame, is Trigger Trossett. Trigger Trossett was his Cooperstown High School nickname. And everybody's told me, although he'll never admit to it, apparently he thinks he was a pass first point guard. But every time I meet someone, inevitably, whether it's at funerals, weddings, you name it, just walking around Cooperstown, they say the opposite. No, shoot first point guard. So which one is it?
And I say I had eyes in the back of my head. Point guard first, passing, eyes in the back of my head, shooting second.
And now at this point, you breed what? And you develop what?
Point guard. As I said that my debut in the middle of a Be More Round Town, my first Be More Round Town tailgate. Can't remember who they were playing that day, that night, but I told you folks firsthand. I said I train, I develop point guards. That's what I hope I have some grandkids I can develop, male and female, good solid point guards.
Back to super chats, and we are getting a little bit tight on timing. We want to be respectful to somebody who you made sure and that you connected me with, and that's Brendan Molson. Shout out Brendan, our new editor. He's originally from our town here in the 518, and he is our newest editor, and he and your father ref together, and that's how you guys met. Olu writes, "Man, you are lucky, Bobby. I lost my dad 8 years ago. It was awesome seeing how close you guys are. I have 2 boys, and I have 2 boys, and we are super close as well. # respect." That makes me think of a moment that Francis and I shared. And by the way, it's a term of endearment. I don't always call him Francis. Some people are like, "Why do you call him that?" It's just sort of
a 98 Rock Boys.
How it goes. We all call each other bro and whatnot. But so basically, this brings me back to a moment that we shared in 2011 with a guy that's really like a fourth son to you. and my best friend, like a brother to me. It was our friend Anthony's father, Kenny, who passed to leukemia when we were 16 years old. And his last breaths, we were in the room for.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I don't think I've ever really taken for granted, especially with other things that happen throughout life, and you gain that perspective of how important it, of how important cherishing the time that you do have is. And that's why I kind of turn this full circle, and what his main goal is coming up to June of 2026 is we just want our parents to be around for as much as possible. And so we want to get you maybe minus
he's crazy, folks.
30, 40, 50 pounds for
15,
June 2026. 15. We want you to be around.
Speaking of Anthony, Tom, we call him, he'll be joining Bobby and I for Father's Day. So looking forward to that as well, whether it might be a little bit of golf, a little bit of dinner, a little bit of watching the U.S. Open, hopefully, too. So
yeah, it'll be good. They're absolutely destroying. The field is being destroyed today. Justin Thomas 4-putted for double bogey.
No way.
Yeah, 4-putted. Ivory says, by the way, completely side comment here, Bobby needs to ease up on the divorce preference. You agree?
Divorce preference? What does that mean?
You're not familiar with my divorce preference?
No.
So I went out with a really cool girl in Baltimore last fall. And then within a date or two, she let me know that she was recently divorced. And I thought that at 30 and single, I should not yet, not that she would have been a settled job. I thought she's great. She's going to make somebody really happy. But for me, I want to experience all of those steps with somebody for the first time, each of us the first time.
Yeah.
And so if I'm 40 and single, maybe we reevaluate. But for now, that's where I'm at. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I largely agree with you. I might give that person a first or second date, but I think
and I did.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with the philosophy. Quite frankly, I think it's a reasonable philosophy, but it might not be. Yeah, age 40, definitely you got to rethink that. At 30, might be probably 50-50, but everybody's got circumstances in their lives. You never know what went on and why it went on and who made the mistakes. But that's I wouldn't automatically rule somebody out for that.
All right. Well, on top of that, Ivory said, "Happy Father's Day, Francis, and to all fathers." Ivory Smith II. He's celebrating 1 month of channel membership. Appreciate you, Ivory. Jang says, "Happy Father's Day to all the dads in this community and to my dad in heaven." I certainly echo that, Jang. To your father, my grandfather as well, Papa Tross. And yes, to everybody in our chat, everybody in our community who's celebrating, happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day weekend. Ivory Smith, on top of what he's already dropped in, says, "Going to pay forward the gift I received last month," which is super cool. That's the best part about this whole thing.
Yeah.
And by the way, he didn't just say he's paying it forward. He just dropped a 5 spot in there. I was expecting 1. Yes. 803 brings us to 808 from Ivory, a 5 spot for the main man. IS the second. IS2, if you will. Cameron Walker brings us to 809. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you guys for being here on this Friday. And look who showed up. Mimi Ray drops in. Her ears must have been ringing.
Mimi.
And Mimi brings us to 810.
Mimi, when you moving to Baltimore, Mimi, let us know, would you? I get down there a fair amount of time.
Oh, are you going to vet her? Is that what you're going to do? Look out, Mimi. Appreciate you for being here and being a good sport with all this nonsense. Draydog679 writes, "Pops, we speak life. You going to be here, no doubt."
That's right.
Meaning when it's all said and done for that graduation.
Your oldest?
Draydog speaking it into existence. And he's a spiritual guy.
Maybe if he adopts a child who's 10 years old.
All right.
Thank you, Draydog.
A few more. Not a fan letting us know what we now know. And that was Bobby Mimi is in the chat. And it's sad that your biceps aren't on display. See me trying to help, Pops?
Thank you.
Write him a note on how to respond. Mo hits us and is a channel member. And thank you to Steve leaning into all this. Mo with $1.99 channel member. Shout out, Mo. Cameron Walker, who's celebrating 1 month of channel membership. You can't yawn on the air.
Sorry, guys.
Cameron says, "Membership ran out during the stream, so had to renew quick, LOL. Appreciate all the hard work Bobby and Sarah do with the vault. Happy Father's Day." So this is super cool. So Cameron never misses a show. And how I'm viewing this is that he was gifted a channel membership last month. Yeah. He now had the decision, as of today, I guess, the choice, I should say, to let that expire or renew the membership. And he chose the latter. So thank you to Cameron.
Awesome.
He's celebrating 1 month of channel membership and now beyond. DC Pete 379 just throws us another $1. He's the guy that I've never seen in here before. And now he shows us more love. I love that. Dre Dog with another one who writes, Pops, we need you here. I went from 260 down to where I'm at now between 180 and 190.
Wow.
I feel amazing, so I'm rooting for you. You feel comfortable sharing where you're at?
Yeah, 188.
At this current moment?
Yeah.
5'6"?
Yeah.
Where do we want him, Dre? I'm saying 150.
Nothing left of me. Dre, there'd be nothing left of me, Dre, at 150.
And here's the other part, Dre. He wants to, like, fast walk. He wants to do
Dre, I'm
Hill's
stocky, though.
fast
I'm a
walk.
stocky guy, Dre. 150, I wouldn't look good at 150.
You got great calves. I know that. But the hill walk is just only going to get you so far.
We get your heart break, get your heart running.
Come to Metabolic with me. Gonna absolutely bury your ass in there. Mimi Ray says, Happy Father's Day, Papa Trosset.
Hopefully you'll be calling me father-in-law one day, Mimi, if we can make. How old are you, Mimi?
I wasn't sure where you were going with that one.
Hopefully you call me father-in-law instead of
happy
Mimi.
Father. What's going on in Minnesota this weekend, Mimi? Let's get our patrons in here. We appreciate you guys for being here. Over 600 concurrents. Looking forward to getting Sarah back in the fold next week. Brian Walters and Christian Almgren, thank you both for believing in what we're building. You guys are integral members of our Vault Patreon community, and we appreciate you for all the support that you give us on a monthly basis. This is your monthly shout out. Happy Father's Day to both of you if you celebrate, or perhaps to your fathers. Brian and Christian, appreciate it, guys. Ravens Vault podcast. I should say patreon.com/Ravens Vault podcast is where you can learn more if you're interested in getting involved in the channel. Any closing thoughts from you?
Me? No, I've enjoyed being on it. I've enjoyed this time, a non-Be More Around Town experience. Hope to be a regular, just like Femi and Cadre are. And I'm looking for big things out of Baltimore this year. Ravens, I was at that Buffalo game last year. I was right in the end zone, right near where, unfortunately, Mark Andrews had that drop go through his hand. So we're at that game. And Bobby got sick for 2 weeks after that. The Buffalo Plague, as you called it.
Not to be confused with the Francis Plague.
I knew that was coming, which is a truly false narrative, folks. I think the Ravens, they got to make that. They got to get over the hump. I mean, this has got to be the year. I hope Mark Andrews is back. You have any insight on that? If he's going to be back?
Mark's back. Yeah,
he's definitely back.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's clear. There were trade rumors out there. We got more super chats, by the way, as well. Ivory says he understands the philosophy, but God could have ended that marriage for her to find you. Don't miss your blessing. Just saying, with the shrugging emoji.
Love it.
That's hard for me to counteract right there. I mean, that was
Ivory spot on there.
Yeah.
He is.
Thanks, Ivory. Look, that's the exact reason why I chose to go on the date with her last year. Maybe it wasn't the right fit outside of the divorce side of things. I don't know. But all I know is that it wasn't feeling the spark. There was a spark, but that spark wasn't on fire.
I mean, you make a decent point. Doing things for the first time. I mean, that's it with each other. That's a reasonable philosophy to have. And then, but don't make it 100% and maybe miss out on that one lucky opportunity. But
thanks, Ivory. Dre Dog 679 says, Pops, I could see you at 155 to 160. Let's go.
How about 175, Dre Dog?
See, we all want you to be around.
I'll be around
when you're carrying that weight. It's tough on your knees.
Dre, I'm gonna be reffing 10 AU games this weekend between Saturday and Sunday. So I'm getting my exercise, dude.
Oh, I can't even with that because you don't get up and down the floor.
He thinks so.
That's the problem.
I repped a game 2 weeks ago. Boys varsity, AU, high level game. Most of these kids are playing college ball. I had to work hard. I was sweating the whole game. And the best thing about it, the coach, the winning coach, naturally, but he said, he's a local college coach, said that was a tough game to ref. If you can ref that game, you can ref any game. So I've taken that to the bank and thinking about that. So I can still get up and down. You get the endorphins going, things happen. As you guys know, Bobby talks about my Cooper's now. I was a high school record holder, 100-yard dash, 9.9 back in 1981. So I could move. I can move when the time comes. I can move. I still can move.
What was your 40?
We didn't do 40s back then.
LaJonte Wester, who we spoke about off the top of the show today, is one of the draft picks from Colorado.
What did he do?
4.46.
Yeah.
He can move.
My real strength was getting out of the blocks quick. Short legs, all the longer leg guys used to catch me when I got the real high level races like the states and all that. The race would go off. I go back to get end races ended, and I go back to my block, and the starter would say, "Hey, you must have won that, huh?" I said, "No, I came in 5th out of 6." He goes, "You were leading at the 10-yard mark." I said, "Yeah, I wasn't at the 100-yard mark though."
That was definitely one area that I should have went a little untapped for me at high school. I should have gotten maybe earlier on involved in that. I don't know how we got there, but
I do want to say anybody the track that 9.9 might have been slightly wind aided too. I mean, we don't admit that very often, but slight wind aided on the timing.
That's good to know. Thanks for being honest. Ivory says, or you to find her, I should say, following up on his previous one that said, understand the philosophy, but God could have ended that marriage for her to find you or you to find her.
Yeah, keeps coming in. These people want to hear more about football. Let me go. Do you want me to get out of here so you can talk football a little bit?
This is it. We got to go. We got to get Brennan the show so he can make sure to edit what we're doing on the back end. DC Pete 379 again chimes in as a channel member.
What's up?
He says, I've been subscribed, just finally caught a live show. That's the beauty of it. A lot of people, just based on their day-to-day, can't catch us live. And when they do, they chime in, and we appreciate it, Pete. Thank you for being here. Chuck Lund comes in, gets us to 811. What's going on, Chuck? Franny, fun fact, Chuck wants us to, is trying to put together the inaugural Ravens cruise line. He wants to put together a cruise line coming up next summer, and Sarah and I are planning on, I've already listened to him, and there might be more. So stay tuned.
Might be a great
idea. Families on the house, I believe. So I'm just throwing that out there. Draydog679, who's full of wisdom, by the way. He writes, sometimes people are on the right track, but on the wrong train, Bobby. Be the conductor and guide love into your life, bro. This guy's the man.
I love this guy.
This guy's the man. He's a great dude. Thank you, Dre. We're going to get together someday. I know it. And I'm going to make him smoke a cigar and have an old-fashioned with me somewhere in South Carolina.
Okay.
All right.